This is the Chi Codes Podcast with your host, Thomas Dockstader.
John, thank you, sir, for coming back on. Had you on a couple weeks ago, and it was a great episode. I mean, your story is just absolutely incredible. Lots of feedback. People love they love the drama, right? Like, I think if we see all these documentaries and stuff, it's just like people love the drama. And so there was a lot of really good feedback about just the incredible story that you've kind of been through. But I wanted to have you on again because, I felt like we went through your progression through the church a little and then kind of losing your family and like that process. But I think we kind of stopped right at the moment where you kind of like, had hit this rock bottom moment, and then we kind of just fast forwarded to today. And that was like, what, 20 years ago?
Yeah, 23 years ago.
23 years ago. Okay. So I think where I want to take the conversation today is I really want to understand, because I think this is going to be something that resonates really heavy with the audience is, and I say this all the time in my book, it's like, you don't have to have this like massively traumatic event. Like you and I can talk about really traumatic things. Mm-hmm. And maybe some people look at that and say, well, I didn't go through that, so how do I relate? But what I think that can be relatable is I think a lot of people and a lot of men really, they get to that point, in your, let's call it late 20s, early 30s. It starts to like set in like, what am I doing with my life? What's my direction? I've been told this, I've been told that. Your story is a little bit more dramatic in the sense that you kind of had your whole entire life ripped out from under you. And so you really had to kind of like stand up and create a base. Mm-hmm. So I want to,
or die.
Yeah. Or die.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we know so many people that have gone down that path.
Exactly. Right? And speaking on your book, you do a good job on, coming to the recognition of yourself, mm-hmm. and realizing that the world ain't going to save you. Mm-hmm. Even your parents aren't going to save you. Your religion's not going to save you. It comes down to a reality and a check in your own mind that this is beyond what I can handle, the situation. And this can happen, religion, marriage, your job, severe trauma, war. Nobody will ever know what the guys went through in a foxhole with their friends being taken out side by side.
Yeah.
We all have different circumstances that we have to deal with. Mm-hmm. But in speaking of your book and what it's doing for people and what it did for me when I read it is it confirmed in my mind that you have to figure this out and you have to take your life back, and there's nobody that's going to drive you to where you want to be but you.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. I think I talk about that a lot, but it really is true for every single person. They have to come to this understanding. And so I'll give you an example. One of my younger brothers has been struggling with addiction, and he made the comment to me. I think he's moving on 60 days sober right now, but he made the comment to me. He said, well, I really wanted to talk to you and our other brother because you guys did it alone. Mm-hmm. And I said, you have to do it alone. There is no other way. It is right. Alone. No one can do it for you. And when we can use addiction as like an extreme example, right? But to your point, like your rock bottom wasn't an addiction rock bottom. It was a personality crisis or who am I?
Identity crisis.
Identity, yeah.
That's something that's hardly ever talked about, especially with religion and with family tradition or whatever you were raised up in. To be in that, have it pulled out from under you, and then have to recognize that it's not necessarily religion. It's not necessarily your background. To change thinking and to get thinking correct, you have to go deep within yourself. Mm-hmm. And again, I keep bringing up religion, or, some of the greatest battles and some of the worst persecution is because of religion.
Mm-hmm.
And, I applaud people that embrace it, because most of it is validating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of us need to validate ourselves, our worth, our authenticity, by what we know in our heads.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I think, validating yourself, a lot of stuff just flooded to me on this one when you're talking about this. So major traumatic events in life are losing a job, divorce, death. So when someone loses a job, sometimes they're so engrossed in that world. They literally imprinted on themselves, I'm a vice president. Mm-hmm. Like that is their identity, literally. And so then when they get fired or let go, their identity is gone. And they just tailspin. They're like, well, wait a minute, I'm not a vice president anymore. And it's like, well, that's all in your head. Like that. So, and when they get divorced, it's the same thing. They're a dad, they're a husband, they're loved, this, and then it kind of gets ripped apart. And then they're like, well, what am I?
Yeah.
So religion is another one, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that self-validation, we go for so long in allowing something external of us to validate us, whether it be a job, a relationship, a religion, whatever it is, right? And it's only when, like in your situation, where it gets, because if I would have approached you, let's call it a month before you got pulled out of the religion, and I said, do you know who you are? You'd have been like, I had to completely recreate and rebuild my. You believed everything. You believed you knew yourself. Let's say that.
It's interesting, because human nature is we kind of deny the obvious until we can't deal with any of the circumstances anymore. That's why people go to addiction, mm-hmm. whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex. Mm-hmm. It really doesn't matter. When a guy's sitting at a table by himself with his head in his hands and he's lost everything, those are where superheroes are made. I'm telling you.
It really is.
It's where you reach and find out, okay, who really am I? And transitioning from who you thought you were to what you can become does require falling to the bottom a little bit. Mm-hmm. Everybody can go through their life and believe that they can handle anything. But you and I can say, I can be a heck of a soldier. You have no idea what you'll do when it's hand-to-hand combat.
Oh, yeah.
You have no idea what happens to people that would give their life and take a life for religion. Mm-hmm. And to get your thinking straight and to change that, to change from being an alcoholic, to change from being addicted to drugs, even behavioral health. Some people, and I'm careful with this because a lot of people cannot even identify their behavior is completely wrong, mm-hmm. or their self perspective is absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes severe trauma, or I don't know, it may not have to be severe, but it takes sometimes a extreme thump mm-hmm. to get you to go, oh gosh, I got to change my focus here a little bit. You know what I mean?
And that's a good point. And so that's like, so I feel like so when something traumatic happens, you lose your family, right? You dip, right? And you start having questions. Well, who am I? What am I? What is it all worth? I feel like it's at that point where you have a decision. Are you going to mask it? And a lot of people at that point, they go to an alcohol or drugs or something like that. They mask it. And then the problem is it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse until the addiction itself stops working. Mm-hmm. So like my youngest brother's addicted to heroin, and he literally lives on the streets. And he told me the last time I was able to talk to him, he's like, I don't even get high. He's like, I just do it to maintain. Because if I don't do it, The low is so low, I cannot handle it. So it's like, he's like, it's not even fun. So when you lose your family, you dip to that point where it's like, you start grasping almost.
Oh, you're actually thinking in your head, how in the world is the sun coming up?
Yeah.
How do people eat their food? You can't be in this much pain or agony of mind and expect things to just go on.
Well, here's the crazy thing that I think is like that's what I talk about in my book. That is actually the moment when you have to look at yourself and take accountability, which is such a hard thing for people to wrap their heads around. Because for you specifically, let's say you got perpetrated against really hard. Okay. Someone did something to you.
That's right.
Okay. When you're that low, it sounds wild, but you actually have to take accountability for that. That's the only way you can get out. And that is what I believe stops people from coming out of that slump, is they will not take accountability. They want to live in victim. And I'm sure you know a lot of people from that religion that are out of it and are living in victim.
They live their entire life, day to day, being a victim. And, you know, I said to a friend a couple months ago, I says, when you find yourself in a situation that you cannot demonstrate over, and you believe that that situation, that wife, that job, that alcohol, that drug, that character is the cause of all your pain, your inability to go forward, that is one of the hardest things to demonstrate over. And sometimes the best way to do is let them go.
Yeah, you absolutely do. I think I go to the extreme when I talk about this and saying like, I mean, I kind of brought some feelings up of some stuff that happened to me as a child of being molested. And I took accountability for that. That's hard for people to kind of wrap their heads around. But the reason I say that is because whatever happened then happened. And maybe that person did wrong. Sure. But that's honestly for them to deal with for themselves.
That's their monster.
For me, though, if I sit there and justify my bad behavior because of that, that is now my fault. And so if I have to take accountability in what happened to me and say, okay, I understand that happened, but now I'm an adult. I don't have the right to go and behave badly, because that's my choice now, to go and behave badly just because someone did something to me. I have to take accountability for it and say, okay, that happened. I'm not going to be in victim about it. I'm not going to live in a place that I'm low and trying to get revenge or, you know, whatever. And the thing is, it's ultimately it's me taking it out on other people. I'm perpetrating on other people because of it.
Yeah, you're sabotaging yourself and everything around you.
Really bad.
I think what you just said kind of rang in my mind a thought that I had. When you and before people will stand up and take responsibility, whether it's good or bad, if you've made a mistake, own up. If you haven't and you're the victim of a mistake or a situation, let it go and go where you can be appreciated and loved and cared for, and where you can demonstrate who you are, not what you've been taught or what you thought you were. Abusive relationships. I look at, and I keep saying religion or whatever, where you were told and you actually believe that you were a son of perdition. That's just not true.
Yeah.
But it takes incredible strength to reach beyond what your mind will harrow up and say. And that's why people choose to go to addiction or something to offset that.
Yep.
And that's where that is extremely, or even thoughts of suicide, thoughts of, I can't take this. I've been there. I have been there where this emotional stress, I'd rather die. I cannot do this. And that's what I'm saying is, and again, I'll say about your book, that helps breed some light into that stop the addiction. Stop the thoughts of, all right, I'm just going to end this. you need to go and you need to recognize the value of yourself, and that whatever is happening in your life doesn't define who you are. Mm-hmm. You define who you are.
Right.
It reminds me of what the general said to Alexander the Great on his deathbed. And one of the generals said to Alexander the Great, he says, "You've conquered the free world. You've made men your slaves. You've made kings your slave. Before you die, tell me what you would do different." And he said, "I did. I conquered everybody, and I made men my servants. But the only thing that I never conquered was me." You think about that.
It's true.
Alexander the Great, that was one of his last words. I don't know that we're necessarily ever going to conquer ourselves, but we can slowly start demonstrating over circumstances, realizing we're going to get put into positions and conditions that are going to try us, like, we're just going to be like, and some of that can be hereditary, some of that can be inborn, some of it can be circumstance. You take some of the finest people in the world, and they're given a bag of things that they don't deserve. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You take an innocent child. My 2 daughters in that church were being raped at the age of 5 years old. That's not fair to them. But they were given that. The things that I've had to teach them. And you need to forgive. You need to forgive them, and you need to forgive yourself, and realize those situations don't make you who you are. To me, as a dad, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And that's how I look at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will never look at you any other way, because I'm not going to allow those circumstances to define who you are. Mm-hmm. And so a mind change and a attitude change, even to yourself, is required for you to be great.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about pride or subduing the world. I'm talking about for you to be truly a person that, and especially if you've been through horrible things or circumstances that are tough, when you realize and grasp that I am who I am, then you learn what it means to be compassionate. Mm-hmm. That vibe just comes off of you. People will come and look at you, and they'll be like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Who is this person? And your light, the vibes, when you kind of let yourself go and let the situation go, that doesn't mean you don't recognize what happened to you. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you put it aside.
Yeah, it's not justifying it or
it doesn't
anything
mean
like
what was perpetrated against you is okay. It's not. What it means is you demonstrated over the circumstance, you recognized it, and you moved on. Mm-hmm. And when you do that in life and in business, this is easier said than done. This is a process. You know
it's
this.
Everything, dude.
This is a process.
It's the purpose of life.
Yeah, it's a process that is as long as we live.
Yeah.
And you can't say a guy that has been through everything and can say, I can handle everything, and then take a grandchild from him, or a child, or a lovely spouse, or there's all kinds of things that come into our lives that have to be navigated, but you can't take any of them personal.
You have to see it all the same. Like, that's the place that I live, is it's like, whether it be, horrible things that happened as a child, or, a divorce, or losing my parents, whatever it is, every single one of those instances, you get the choice to find value in it or be a victim of it. And it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is. Every single one of them is like that. And it's, to your point, it's an extremely difficult thing to get to. And I'll find myself in certain circumstances, I will quickly dip into like an anger or shame or sadness or something like that. But what I find is that I quickly come out of it and I'm like, oh, okay. And I think I view the emotions of our of this life and our bodies is it's just like a dash light on a car. It's like the check engine light comes on. That's your anger.
And it's going to come on.
Oh, yeah.
You can drive it all you want.
It's 100% going to come on. That's what I think people trick themselves into thinking is that they can escape emotions. It doesn't matter how enlightened, you can be the most enlightened person in the world. You're in this human body. You're still going to feel these emotions. It's like a dash light. And the thing is, drugs, alcohol, that stuff, that's just covering up right? We're ignoring it. Mm-hmm. We don't want to see it. But if it comes on, we have to say it's an indicator. If I'm angry, it's an indicator and saying like, okay, what is the false belief I have about myself? Why do I think that I'm less than, or why would I be angry? What's this thing that's happening? How can I diagnose it so that I can say, oh, okay, because it's literally your body and your mind pointing to an inadequacy you feel about yourself that causes you to get to this place of like upset or disappointment or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So it's a quick challenge of like being able to process an emotion, try and find the root of it. Because ultimately, all of it, every emotion you feel comes down to how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, and human emotion is a survival mechanism.
For sure.
All of us have it. Little kids have it. Them screaming because they're hungry or somebody took their toy, that is an emotion that is just as real as you and I getting hit
100%
in a car or something. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's natural.
It's real.
It just comes up.
You know, one of the things I've taught my girls with what they've been through, and I say to my boys all the time, is you can't be and give love and be that person that can receive love unless you love yourself. You can't be in a great relationship. You can't be thriving until you first recognize and love and adore. I'll say adore yourself. I'm not talking about conceit.
Right.
I'm not talking about making sure your skin is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Your dress is perfect. Your eyelash liner's perfect. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you actually love and adore yourself and you believe that you're worth it, that element, that light shines out of you, and it portrays your little kids love you more as
Everyone
a mother,
does.
As a dad. When you walk in the house, you bring an element of stability and strength. It's with a business. It's with anything.
Everything.
And that's why I don't. Religion is very necessary. It in some people's eyes, it's a vehicle that helps you. Maybe it does validate you in many instances. Your bishops, everybody, a lot of people will run to them and expect to be validated or told what to do. And this is how you should feel. That's not true. All religion is a great vehicle to get you to the spot.
The principles of a lot of it
but
is.
But it doesn't give you what you're looking for. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, the flaw in it is that it's not pointing you back to yourself to ultimately get that fulfillment. Mm-hmm. The flaw in it is saying like, oh, well, if the bishop, if he validates me, then I can feel validated. Mm-hmm. Or like you're saying in a relationship, if you're not, and dude, I did this really bad for years, for many relationships. I would constantly think I'd be in a bad relationship and I would think this is the wrong person for me. And that's why I feel bad. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't feel fulfilled. And if I leave and if I get this other person, if I find that person for me, then I will be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? 4 divorces later, false. All of it false. The only time I'm going to be happy is if I am happy with myself. That's it. There's no one that can fulfill me. They can't. Now, if you fulfill yourself and you feel fulfilled, can you find someone that adds to that? 100%.
Well, it's actually better.
Yes, but they're not the source.
No, you can, if you hang on other people's characters to make you happy, you're good. Even religion, even a job, even money. Mm-hmm. If you say to yourself, if I could only make this much, I'll be happy. No, you can't hang on to any of these things because they don't do it. It goes back to what we started with.
Yeah.
The core is you can actually be happy with just a little bit.
With nothing.
With nothing.
You really can.
You can actually be happy. You know, I go to my place up in Montana, and I'm up there for 2 or 3 weeks all by myself, and the kids and everybody are like, "Dan, aren't you lonely? Isn't it crazy?" No. When I first got sent away and lost family, everything, I was alone. The loneliness, that alone nearly killed me.
Let's talk about that because I want to talk about, like, you went 10 years before you got your kids back, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you avoid getting sucked into alcohol and and just destroying yourself, right? Like, talk to me a little bit about, like, how did you, like, talk to me about some pivotal moments where you just, like, you really had to make a decision, right? Because I think also, to that same point, when you left, you basically had nothing. I mean, down to zero, right?
They took the trucks, my jobs.
You had nothing.
I ended up living in a guy's garage for 6 months.
Yeah. Now you have a huge house in Montana and acres and all this stuff. But I don't think that's the source of your joy.
No.
I think that's a result of your joy.
Yes. And my grandkids and my kids and my friends are incredibly meaningful to me. Mm-hmm. The first couple of years, Tom, I was extremely, and it's a good thing that I was alone, because there was several seasons that weren't right that I went through. Mm-hmm. The first 2 years, I didn't know that my wife was remarried to Lyle after I was kicked out for 2 years. And for those first 2 years of being out and just sitting here in limbo, like, I must have really crossed the line. I must be a son of perdition. Mm-hmm. That course correction in your thinking is a monumental task. And thank God I didn't get into drugs and alcohol. I just didn't, because I knew mentally that if I went down there, I'd never solve this issue. So
what was the, like, let's say for you, like, did you just bury yourself in work? You had to be doing something to cope.
I absolutely worked myself. That's why my body is a mess. I worked and I hiked. I would hike 23, 24 miles on the weekends. Oh, wow. Up mountains.
So that was your escape.
That was my escape. And then when I found out that she'd been married and I wasn't getting them back and all this kind of stuff, it took, I went through a horribly bad anger for about a year. I became almost dark in my thinking. I wanted revenge.
Sure. I mean, and I don't blame you.
And we could go on for several sessions on what happened for about a year. A great friend of mine, Gordy Croft Sr., I'm just going to say it, he passed away last year.
Okay.
He got sick, and I got involved with the Cross family, and these guys just were very nice to me. Mm-hmm. And he got very sick, and I went up to the hospital, the IHC, and went up to see him, and he looked at me and said, "Sit down right here," and on his bed. I was like, whoa. And this guy's 90, probably 92, 93 at this time, maybe a little younger, but he said, "John, you have got to be, and I've lived a long time, one of the most amazing human beings I've ever seen." And he said, "But the last year I've seen something creep into you that's making you angry." And he looked at me and says, "Let it go. Remember, if you don't forgive, you become exactly like those that perpetrated against you. And it just keeps going and going and going. Let it go." And he said to me, "I love you and my family loves you, but you're not letting us get in because you've put some walls around you that are impenetrable." Tom, I didn't even know what I'd done.
Yeah, I understand that.
I wouldn't even go to dinner with them. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't let anybody near me because I knew I would never be able to handle that pain again. Mm-hmm. And so I kept everybody at a distance, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I would not let anybody get near my heart. And when he said that, and the older I get, the more I think, well, that guy's got some wisdom. Because I was allowing the anger to take over the good person that I was. Because I was a good person. I wasn't perfect,
Sure.
but I was a good person. And I recognized that. And when he said that, it took another year for me to go, I'm not going to let this define me. I'm not going to let this. What people said, I was told I was a son of perdition. I was told that I would never have my children because they belonged to God and priesthood. I was told all these things. I let it go. That doesn't mean the pain went away. It doesn't mean I didn't pray for my kids every day, that I didn't miss them. It means that I began to rebuild something outside of what I knew or understood. It means that I moved on. It means that I wasn't going to let this circumstance make me something that I'm not. And I believe that alcohol, I believe all these things try to make us something that we're not, because we won't become what we can be because of a set of circumstances.
I believe that, see, like when you first approach that realization, because we've been everybody that's born is like immediately starting to be indoctrinated as to what they are. Because we inherit it from our parents. We just literally observe them. We see that they don't value themselves, and then we just take it on. So to your point, when you get to that point, when you get to that like breaking point, and then you have to like, you're in silence and you have to look at yourself in the mirror, there's this super scary feeling of like, what if I'm not enough? What if I'm not worthy? What if this? What if that? Because we've been told this so much that we actually don't believe that we are.
Right. And most of us look at the state of the United States, countries all over. So they want somebody to save their ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody wants somebody to save them.
And just to your point, like when you're at that place, you may say, oh, well, maybe I need to go join a group or join this or do that. You know what I'm saying? You're actually trying to fill the hole again. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a destructive
element or thing. Yeah.
But you are trying to fill it. And everyone is so freaking afraid to jump down there by themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're like, what if I'm not? What if I'm not enough? And so for me, like literally jumping down that hole by myself, coming to that understanding and realization that I am enough and that I can fulfill myself. And I don't need anyone or anything to tell me that. I don't need it.
Well, going back to the loneliness, that's exactly what I came to. And you know, my kids and everybody says, aren't you alone? Don't you want to get remarried? Don't you want to do this, this, and this? And don't get me wrong. I love being around my friends and family, but loneliness doesn't hurt me anymore.
No.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with sitting down and
high level of comfort being alone.
Having a meal all by myself. I love going and getting coffee with my kids and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't, you know what I mean?
That's a sign, John, that you like, I mean, that is really a sign. I understand what you're saying because I lived alone for years. And I remember the times when I was quote unquote lonely. And now it is just like a constant feeling of like satisfaction. I'll drive in the car with no sound, no music. I love it. I love it.
I love it too. I drive from Salt Lake to Montana. Not a single
I love it,
song
dude.
on it.
Yeah.
And I'm just
feels good.
Just going through in your mind the things that you're grateful for, the things that you've learned, the jobs you've got to take care of. You're okay. You're okay with everything. And even if it's good, bad, or ugly, you're okay. And even death. And don't get me wrong. I have an eternal perspective.
Sure.
I know this is the temporary part. I know that we're going to see that those that we love. I know it in my heart.
Yeah.
I feel it.
Yeah.
I miss my mom. Mm-hmm. She was the salt of the earth. They don't make any of them like her. You feel the same way
Absolutely.
about your mom.
Yeah.
But I know that she's there. Mm-hmm. And I know that this is the hard part. This is the hard part, man.
Well, dude, I think everyone that is on that other side is either wishing or jealous or desiring that they could have discovered who they were here. Mm-hmm. Because that is, in my opinion, that is the purpose. And I think that, there's all this talk about like hell and this and that and stuff. I just believe more than anything that you go where you're most comfortable. And if you're in a place of suffering, you're going to go to a place of suffering. You're going to go where you want.
You create your own heaven.
Yes.
Or you create your own hell.
Exactly.
And it all starts right here.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that a lot of things in life is beautiful. If you look, it's freaking amazing. Mm-hmm. But a lot of things in life are distractors from what you and I are really supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And even our jobs, even work, if we get so involved in it, it's just a distraction. Mm-hmm. Because the ultimate gift on the end of this thing is, did you learn to love yourself? And did you learn to love those around you? And that doesn't mean you gave them money or cars or you have the biggest yachts and stuff. It doesn't matter. What matters is learning that key gift. My mother always said that. She would always say, in the end, the only thing that's going to matter is how good we are to each other. Mm-hmm. Nothing else matters, John. She would say that. She said it to my kids. Mm-hmm. I until she was gone, you're just like,
yeah,
that's kind of cool, Mom. But she was right on target. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is really true. Because that's the thing is it's like, and you were saying it earlier, right? So it's like, first, you can't be with someone else if you don't fulfill yourself. Mm-hmm. Once you fulfill yourself, then it's our duty to try and help others do the same thing. And I think when you say being good to others, well, an absolute great way to do that is to be good to yourself. Because like you said, you're almost like a magnet. Your sunshine, like, it shines on everyone. When you feel good and you feel like you're confident and happy with yourself and there's no turmoil, people feel that and they see that. And it becomes a positive impact in their lives. So if you imagine like, and I love that you said that work is just a distraction, because when we really, I think about this all the time. What the heck am I doing 8 hours a day? Let's be just real honest about it. I'm selling some software for something that does something that creates this social media and this and that and does all this stuff. What am I actually doing? What am I actually dedicating a large portion of my life to? What is it actually doing? And the second that company decides that they don't want me to work for them anymore, gone. All that work.
And not one of them will even miss a night's sleep.
Dude, no one cares.
They don't care.
They don't care. And no one will remember and no one will care. So it's like, if you really think about your purpose, it's like money and all those things. It's like, wait a minute. How do I find who I am and become who I really am and show it to the world? So that inspires others. That's what people are going to show up at your funeral. Mm-hmm. And that's what they're going to think about. They're not going to think about how much software you sold. They're going to think about, this guy helped me.
This guy gave me the strength, and he didn't even know it.
Exactly.
To get through something that he didn't even know that I was going through.
Exactly.
Because he dropped everything he did and helped me move a couch. He dropped what he did. I told you, my boys and I have a little code. We have a little code. And so do my girls, and so do several of my friends. You call and say, I need coffee. You drop whatever you're doing, and you go.
That's great, dude.
We have that code. Nothing else needs to be said. We don't even need to talk about the problem.
Yeah, you just go and spend some time together.
My kids say to me, what should we get for your Father's Day? Well, it's your birthday a week later. What do you want, Dad? The only thing I want is have a cup of coffee with you.
Yeah.
Let's go out on the boat. I don't need things. I don't want things. I want to see everybody happy. I want to see life being lived and people enjoying things without the stress.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got a big company going right now, and I work hard. But at 5:30, 6 o'clock, that phone's off. It's my time.
Mm-hmm.
And I get up at 4 in the morning. And until 7, that's my time.
Yeah.
I can read. I can study. A lot of times I'll go for a walk in the crisp morning air. That's for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So many people ignore that, and they wonder why they're stressed or anxious or depressed, or, you know, and it's like, this is such a big one too. And you can even speak to this, because going from being broke to actually having plenty, right? Mm-hmm. That alone, it's like it solves some problems. You're not worrying about paying the rent. Okay, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. But guess what? You can still be miserable. It's just another set of...
Rich people are miserable, Tom. They are just miserable. Because 90% of them are miserable.
I believe it's because they anchor so much on getting that wealth, mm-hmm. that causes them, that is the distraction. But then when you get to a certain point, it's kind of like, okay, well, and then they start to try and buy people's favor and love and this and that.
Yeah, the quality of life isn't on what you have or what you've gained. The quality of life is those who you have around you at the end of the day. And you can amass a fortune and have the most dysfunctional family. You can have all kinds of issues that you and I don't even know about. I've worked for people I worked for the guy that owned the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas.
Okay.
The screaming, the carrying on, the kids. Where's my purple Ferrari? Well, your sister took it. Storms out, takes the yellow one. The butler in this house, we sat and talked for 35, 40 minutes, and he goes, his wife has a closet that is 5,000 square feet, Tom. With those shelves that roll like at Home Depot.
Yeah.
That rotate shoes and bags. I'm remodeling this place. I'm looking at this and I'm like, you've got to have millions in this closet.
Yeah, and the thing is, she only wears 5 outfits.
Exactly. But she came in one day and something had gone wrong. And she goes, I'm so mad right now. I'm flying to New York and I'm going to go shopping.
I mean, it's just back to what you said.
And that's what exactly.
It's a coping mechanism. Like, how do I make myself happy?
Exactly. More doesn't give you anything. Alcohol doesn't solve any problem. Suicide, I'm telling you right now, isn't going to solve the problem.
Exactly. You'll just continue on.
Because in the next realm, you're going to be like...
Sad sack.
Oh, God. I've got to get this figured out.
Yep.
Everything that you and I go through isn't to beat us to death. Mm-hmm. It's to help us to come to a recognition of something higher, something beyond what you and I see every day. Mm-hmm. You can call it the Savior. I do, mm-hmm. because I feel like that the example that he set, the strength that he demonstrated, he didn't amass an army. Mm-hmm. He didn't create a government. He didn't do anything. He taught us that it's so simple that a child can understand it, guys. It really is. He
literally said, you can be enough.
Yeah.
You're enough. Like that's what I loved about the story is it's like he goes around, traveling around, picking up, the gutter people, the freaking, the prostitutes.
He didn't go to the elect Jews.
No.
And
exactly.
The Sanhedrin and stuff. He didn't say, because you're trained in this.
Yeah, you're the holy man. So now
you're my guy. He went to the people that were tax collectors and fishermen.
The average folk.
It's really quite simple. And even the disciples never got it until after he was gone, mm-hmm. because they couldn't depend on his character to get to where they wanted to be. And that's what the whole world's doing. We depend on your character to tell us and help us be what we're supposed to be. That's not true. It never was true.
Yep.
And any religion or cult or mafia deal, whatever you want to call it, that is based on you will, you can, or you won't. That's not true.
Yep. It's very true. And that's actually such a great, I mean, I think about that all the time because like even what I'm doing, right? Like I'm trying to get the message out, trying to help people. The very last thing that I want is to anyone to follow me. I don't. In fact, all I want to do is say, you and me, we are the exact same. And my example is that you can be at this low, crappy, horrible place and you can get out of it. And you can get to a place where you feel so fulfilled that you will also want to do the exact same thing. Try and help other people feel fulfilled.
And if you can enlighten people, you know, I applaud you, man. I really do. I applaud what you've gone through, where you've been, where you are. I applaud men and women who take situations and make lemonade out of them. And that is a mindset. You know where you've been. I tell my kids all the time. I know where I've been. I know there's places I can never go again. Even as strong as we think we are, we're not going to make it if we go back there. Do you understand?
Yeah.
We know that. And going back to what you said, it can be severe trauma. It can be anything. It can be that diploma. It can be anything. Just relax. Slow down. Breathe. Breathing techniques are huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I go for walks in the morning because I need the air and I need to clear my head and get stable. Yeah.
It's a form of meditation, right? Yeah. Like it's just like,
absolutely.
Yeah. You get in that Zen state. I think, this idea that's been weighing on me super heavy lately is it's like this thought of like the thought of like trying to do something. The best way I can explain it is it's like when I first started to learn to snowboard, you force your feet to like carve. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how to do it. And so you like you try to force and you fall really hard. The only time you actually get good is when you like almost like let go and you just look where you want to go. Your body actually naturally just does it. You don't have to it's actually very little movement that's actually happening. And that's what I think about like life. It's like, if I like try to force to make this money, or I force to get this woman, or I force to like get this job, or I want to be rich, or I want this and I want that. And you're just like grasping. It's like forcing the snowboard and you just keep falling and why isn't it working for me? And what's going on? And why can't I find this? I went through years of this. And now I literally am in this place where like, dude, everything that I see, I'll give you an example. I think to myself, I'm like, okay, I need to get some podcast guests. And I literally write it down. But then for some reason, like my natural, I like try to be guided by my natural passion at all times. And for some reason, I just was avoiding it. And I literally was auditing myself. I'm like, what's going on? Why? Like, I know I need to do that. Why am I not doing it? And then all of a sudden I get a call from a friend and he's like, hey, can I be on your podcast and this and that? And I'm like, I just got to freaking stop. Like, just don't force, just freaking allow.
Oh yeah.
It's so hard because we live in this world of like, you got to go after it. You got to crush and you got to make it happen. And I think people have such a hard time with this concept because it's like, well, then you're not motivated and you're not going after anything. And it's like, no, it's not that. You literally set your mind on what you want, like really high. Like I really want to have such a large platform that I can speak to millions of people and inspire them to find themselves. That's what I ultimately would want to do. I want to try and get to many people as possible. So then if you think to yourself, you're like, okay, well, how do I do that? I could pay money and advertise and do this and that. And I'm like, no, it won't work that way. I have to just let it happen.
You are absolutely right, Tom. You don't want to be lethargic or complacent or indifferent, but when something's true and it's meant to be, it's going to go. The whole driving force of being alive is to get us to a certain place. You know that, and I know that.
Yeah.
The distractions take us longer to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Women, children, work, again, we've talked about all this. And all of them are necessary. All of it is necessary. But it still didn't put us where we are looking for. The soul is always crying for something that you and I don't even understand.
Right.
It's always, and you can feed drugs, alcohol, you can feed food to it, you can go, I don't want, you know what I mean? You can sit there and do that. It's when you become silent with yourself, you accept yourself, and you recognize that you are a being of something so much higher than what you and I know.
Yeah.
You respect life, and it's hard for you and I to even describe that because it's an indwelling that has to come from you. We can all talk about this. We can all help as much as we can, and that's what I want to do. That's why I'm here today with you.
Yeah, well,
because
I know that.
I truly believe that there are so many people that need to understand that in order for you to help others, you have to help yourself first. And it's an indwelling. You have got to reach deep. And have you ever seen that movie V for Vendetta?
Mm-hmm.
Her sheer fear at first, and at the end, I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Take me out in the back, shoot me. I really don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't care anymore. It's, okay, fear disappeared. Mm-hmm. Once fear disappears from a man and a woman, the entire space around them opens up, and it's limitless. Mm-hmm. It's limitless.
So true. Yeah, I agree. And it's like, even my own mind doesn't, my conscious mind wants to prevent me from getting where I want to go. Mm-hmm. Like you got to do this and you got to do that in order to make that. And I'm like, no, I don't. I just go. So what's interesting, this is so cool. What happened the other day. When I started this podcast, I actually didn't even want to start a podcast because I was like, nah, I don't want to, I'm whatever. I don't know, but I didn't want to do it. And then I was like, no, I'm just going to do it. And so then I kind of fell into it. Well, this whole time I've had this idea of like literally saying to myself, I want to change the world. And your ego says, dude, you cannot do that. Like your ego says that. Dude, your sister sent me a message on Facebook a couple of days ago, which Alicia, and I have not talked to her in who knows how long. I saw her at Daniel's funeral, but before that, we're talking 20 years. Haven't seen her. Mm-hmm. She sent me a message, and she said, in the message, she said, I believe you can change the world because you've changed yourself. Dude, that hit me so hard. I was like, holy shit. It's almost like my higher self believes that. Mm-hmm. My ego conscious mind is like, come on, relax. You can't do any of that. But then to have someone to just randomly reach out to me and say that, to voice those words, mm-hmm. It's like, whoa. So then like operating on that higher passion of just like, okay, just keep, because every guest I have on, everything, it's just like comes to me and I'm just like, oh, I should do that. It's not like this pre-planned, like, I'm not being calculated about it at all. In fact, I'm being just led by intuition most of the time.
Well, when you called me and said I got an opening, literally a day ago.
Yeah.
Was it 2 days ago?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, what are we going to talk about? But the thought in my head was, I know Tom, and this is going to be good because we've got to talk about this stuff that's real. Life is real. Mm-hmm. It's not a game, and it will either eat you for lunch or you're going to go out to lunch.
Yeah, it's true. It really is true, man. What a crazy thing. So the more I realize that I just have to I mean, I just preach this all the time, but it's like having that direct connection to your intuition, higher self, soul, whatever you want to call it, and just like operating off of that intuition. And I think you even said it earlier, but sometimes you just don't do anything. You just sit. If there's no message, if there's no like clear, oh, I should do this, and it's like feels good, don't do anything. You don't have to force it.
Well, I'm going to give your listeners a little bit of advice. And this is so important to me. You cannot hear the voice within if there's chaos all over.
Mm-hmm.
Go find yourself. Mm-hmm. Go get silent first. Receive the enlightenment that you need. If it's on your knees, then go do it. But be true to it. Don't do it because you were forced or told to do it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Dude, I totally see what you're saying. And I actually want to read this text that I got from my younger brother the other day, because he's been struggling with alcoholism for years, just like me, right? And for as long as I've been sober, he just hasn't wanted to do it. And I think he's like 60 days now or something sober. But he finally came to me and said, hey, I want your help. So I taught him how to do meditation and stuff. He sent me this text the other day. He said, I just wanted to take some time and say thank you. I've been meditating 20 to 30 minutes every day, and it's hard to put into words. It really has been a game changer. The texts you send have been very impactful in my day-to-day. It's really helped with working through relationship stuff. Have struggled with now being able to address things in more positive ways. Thank you for taking the time with me. I look up to you so much. So proud to call you my big brother. Have a great night. Dude, that kind of message from my brother, like watching him struggle so long and just knowing the pain that he's in, and to way back the very beginning of this when we talked about you have to do it on your own, knowing the pain that he's in and knowing that I want to help him so badly, but he has to come to me and he has to be willing to put it out forth. But the fact that he's now in this place where he's like lowering his walls, right? He's lowered his walls and he says, okay, I'm willing to accept some help and I want to look at myself. And the drastic change that I've seen in him in just like such a short period of time, like, dude, like I've been fearful of him like losing his life because of this.
Well, Tom, you got to feel awfully good that you are impacting people's lives like this. It doesn't have to be, like I said, a great big thing. It might be that intuition. Now, I'll tell you something that happened to me about 10 years ago. I was down, I just got home, and my brother was living with me. He just barely left the creek. Mm-hmm. And took a shower and went downstairs and was watching some news. And something told me, go up and talk to your brother. Kind of ignored it. Go up and talk to your brother. Went up into his room. I didn't even knock on the door. I just opened the door and he had a gun to his head. I just sat down next to his bed. He dropped the gun. I grabbed it, set it to the side of me. What's up? It's real, man. This stuff is real.
Yeah.
And we have to be in tune. And if we're in tune and you're doing the indwelling and you're listening to the Spirit, it's going to guide. It's, even if any good's done, it's not you and I that did it. Mm-hmm. It's the power that we received from a higher power to help those that need the same power.
Right.
And I applaud what you said. I don't want to follow him. I don't want my kids to follow me. I have told them, be who you are. Be true. If you're not going to be a contractor and you don't feel you want to do this, I want you to go do exactly what makes you happy, that fulfills you. But be honest and be good about it. I would never force you into my company. And I feel the same way you do, that I want to help. It's on my mind all the time. I got to be honest with you. It breaks my heart every single time I hear about another person taking their lives. Mm-hmm. it hurts me bad, Tom. And that's a lot of them I don't even know.
Sure.
And I hear things and I'm just like, what have I got to do? Roy Draper, my best friend, one of my best friends. You know, I ask myself, what could have I done to help some of this stuff? It's hard on me, and I can see that your desire is to just, what do we got to do to help people? And I want to help. You know what I mean?
and it's hard, dude, because it is that thing where it's like, I can't go do it for you. Mm-hmm. And I told a friend the other day. He told me about, he's been through 2 divorces. He's just broken up with another girl. He's, drinking a lot and this and that. And I said, dude, I literally would do it for you if I could. I know how to do it. Mm-hmm. And I would step into your skin and do it for you if I could, but I can't. So how can I, I'm here for you. How can I inspire to get you to go on that path, to start to find value in yourself? Because that's all it is. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. And it's there that you have value. You have value. Well, dude,
this has been fun.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on. It's always a good time. And I think that, every time I do an episode, I just hope that there's like one little tagline or something that can get picked up and I can put it on a clip or something that's going to grab someone's attention and, just like inspire them in some way to kind of make that change or start to down that path, whatever it is. That's what I hope every time.
Yep. Well, I always say to people, be true to yourself. You can lie to everybody in the world, but you're not going to lie to yourself.
That's a great piece of advice. That's the first step. Thank you. Thanks, John.